on, man. We're just trying to help. That's all. That's all we're here. We're just here for that. We are just trying to help.
What are you two bags of shit doing here? You ain't even cops no more. How's your cock working now that you ain't got a badge no more?
What?
This is what I think of you, you fuck up.
You spit in my face? We both hit it. Take that money train and shove it up your ass. How's it going, everybody? It's your man, Rich Ricardo Americo, back again for another retrospective review. Guys, as you've seen from the last past review, I just happen to be a huge Wesley Snipes fan, and it has been a spectacular to go back and look at Wesley Snipes in his prime, at his peak, and how he became one of the most notable action stars and notable big time movie actors of that generation, and really one of the biggest black movie actors, black action heroes of that time and present. So it really shows that Wesley Snipes did really lay the groundwork for future black action stars. And this one, folks, is going to be the 1995, you could say, comedy action adventure films in New York City. It could only possibly be Money Train, that came out in 1995. Yes, folks, before we dive into this video, be sure to check me out on social media. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, on this video. With that being said, ladies and gents, let's get down to this video. This is a film that really, depending who you ask, can really like this film or really dislike this film. As I'm very split in between, because I really do love Wesley in his prime, and so good to see his partner in crime, the one who brought White Man Can't Jump, Woody Harrelson, appearing in this movie. And it's really cool seeing them not in this action orientated film. The film that really got a lot of recognition and was very received positively was White Man Can't Jump, that came out in 1992. This film, Money Train, comes 3 years after White Man Can't Jump, and like I said before this, Wesley made a few action films, a few drama films in between. Wesley Snipes was still in this a peak at this time. Cool again to see Woody Harrelson again. I had not seen him since White Man Can't Jump. To see him in this is pretty amazing. If I say when I first saw this film, I saw this film when I was very we're talking primary school. What had happened was White Man Can't Jump used to get shown on the BBC network late at night. It's where I called New Jack City, and I remember they had a double header. So they showed White Man Can't Jump, and immediately after they showed Money Train. So it's late 90s where I had first seen the combo of Wesley and Woody Harrelson, and when I first saw it, again, I didn't understand it too much at that time, even White Man Can't Jump, but I always remember seeing the on-screen chemistry of Wesley and Woody and their combination on film. It's just a great, perfect duo. So Money Train marks the third time that Wesley and Woody Harrelson actually play alongside each other. They first appeared in Wildcats, that came out in the 80s. It's a sports drama, and then it was White Man Can't Jump that really brought them onto the dance, and it came out in 1992. And Money Train, which came in 3 years after. And so it's within that span, Wesley and Woody were working together. It really is one of the ones that could be called a buddy cop film. This was really popularized from the explosion of the Lethal Weapon. Danny Glover and Mel Gibson, that ran from the late 80s to like around the late 90s. So after Lethal Weapon, you had like body cuts before, such as 48 Hours, and I'm guessing like a few in the 70s. But I think Lethal Weapon was really the one that was even critically acclaimed. So this really kind of comes off the tails of putting these two films, because Wesley and Woody Harrelson's characters are both cops in this film, working in the New York district, really, scouting and scoping, crime that takes place in the New York, subways. So they play these cop roles to a T. And yeah, even in the 90s, you had like other body cops like the Bad Boys. You can even say in Die Hard Vengeance, which was released the same year as this, you had Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson, sort of like the team duo, which even carried on to films such as Rush Hour. So it really was cool of seeing this duo of Woody and Wesley in a different story from White Man Can't Jump, which is fantastic. Joined with Wesley and Woody, who are in the lead roles. It's different characters, but like some of the traits from White Man Can't Jump are similar. Like Wesley Snipes feels like he's the one who's in command. He's one in command. He's in charge. He really has the plan. A more mature type of person to Woody Harrelson's character. Woody Harrelson, a lot of similar traits to Billy in White Man Can't Jump. He has a gambling problem, as he did in White Man Can't Jump. He's seen as like a fuck up, someone who keeps making the same mistakes over and over again. And someone who needs like Wesley. It's like the yin and the yang, like they both need each other to progress. And those are the really scenes that make this movie magic. And the other character who was in this, Jennifer Lopez, who always felt, when I saw this movie, it always felt like this was like the answer to Rosie Perez in White Man Can't Jump. It felt like Rosie Perez Latina, Rosie Perez, a character in that, was like it was like a spiritual successor of Jennifer Lopez character, the Santiago in New York. So you got Wesley, Woody, you got like the black actor, and you got the Latina as in White Man Can't Jump, and now in Money Train you got the white black Latina, but this time instead of Rosie Perez, it's Jennifer Lopez. And Jennifer Lopez, before she became this big megastar, Jenny from the blog, Love Don't Cost a Thing, I'm glad, before she became this super huge megastar, she was, you could say she was a struggling actress. She's from the Bronx, New York, and she got her big break, on the In Living Color series, which is so crazy, the amount of stars that the Living Color series was able to produce, was able to make. It's insane, the amount of talent that was on that show. So this is 985. Living Color finished in 994. From there, like a few of the other actors, Jim Carrey, the Wayans brothers, Tommy Davidson, Jamie Foxx, a lot of the talents from Living Color then went their own ways, whether it was the TV sitcoms roots, movies, or like some music. Jennifer Lopez at this time, she was getting a lot of like I'm guessing like movie roles, because again the physical appearance, she was very attractive and a very kind of different version of like how Latina looked. So she was getting movie roles. I remember she started in Big with Robin Williams. She was like a teacher. She was in Selena, so she played the legendary Latin American actress Selena. That was in 1987, and she also appeared in Out of Sight with George Clooney. And she was like really getting her foot in the door. She was in U-Turn with Sean Penn, with Jack Nicholson in Blood and Wine, which was 1996. So she was really starring alongside these big, you could say A-list, actors in the 90s. It's just a super new Latin beauty, and I'm someone who's always loved Jennifer Lopez. I always feel comfortable watching Jennifer Lopez in her acting roles, and then I can appreciate her as a singer. So she really is that kind of triple threat megastar, and this is one of her early roles, and you can even see from this movie Money Train that she a star was making, even as early as this in the mid 90s, and she does an excellent job. So yeah, Jennifer Lopez, she's playing the cop who's also in that precinct with Wesley and Woody in New York, and again they're checking for the crimes that happen on this in that New York subway. You have Robert Blake, who's pretty much like the main antagonist. He's the one who is in charge of making sure the money gets delivered on the train. And the money train is a transportation vehicle to transfer large amounts of cash to its destination. And Robert Blake is some paranoid pendejo, is short-tempered, really like a short man syndrome kind of guy, and he cannot stand the shit out of Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson's characters. So Robert Blake, he's the one who's pretty much in charge of how the train systems run in that subway where they're based. And you also have appearance from Chris Cooper. Chris Cooper, if you've seen in Time to Kill, American Beauty, he appeared as Norman Osborn in Amazing Spider-Man 2. He was meant to be the Norman Osborn, and yeah, he's actually in this as kind of the sub plot, because Wesley and Woody are supposed to be brothers, but they're foster brothers, but lying for the same girl. But they're actually headed. They're both like they're in that precinct unit. So these NYPD cops. They're trying to catch Chris Cooper's character, the Torch, coming in, and he's just like claiming big terms, by the dozens. So majority of the times when they're there, they're inside the subway. It's just like disguised as like they're civilians, but they're like they're just on the scope of them. So Wesley Snipes' character is called John, and Woody Harrelson's character is Charlie, and they're transit cars in the subway. And this movie takes place all around Christmas. See, one night when they're on duty, these young kids try to rob. Woody Harrelson, Charlie, is sitting down, and one of these young kids actually tried to kind of rob him. Woody Harrelson kind of shows his badge, and they actually run, after them. And it just so happens the cops who are on the money train actually shoot the young kid trying to rob Charlie. And this was really surreal, because this is like really the opening scene. The kid had to be only like 18 or 20 years old, and just shot just because he was in the vicinity of the transportation of money, the money train. And this already brings the ire of Roberta Blake's character. It showed that Woody Harrelson is actually dead. So very similar how he was in White Man Can't Jump. He was getting chased by those monsters in this. It's a similar thing that happens here, only pretty much difference is this is New York opposed to it was in California in that film. And this one, he keeps getting threats from majority of the times. They one time get him when he's in the bathroom, one time when he's making his way to his house. These mobs come to him. They even go so far to kind of like raise him over, like all the way up. He raised him over like the balcony, and about to drop his ass until Wesley Snipes comes in. Charlie actually tells the monsters that, okay, it will get till at least New Year's Day. So New Year's Day we'll be able to get that money, the 15,000 back to the monsters. And it's that Charlie starts to believe that, man, we could actually take this money from the train. Understand, because they're cops. They're always like patrolling there. They could actually do one job, go inside, take that money. Hasta la vista. But John Wesley from get-go is like, nah, fuck that. Grace Santiago, Jennifer Lopez character, gets introduced. They're taking the car one time back from late at night, and the one who's in charge of that precinct taking a 40 of positioning officers in that subway. Tells that Grace Santiago, Jennifer Lopez character, is now trying to force, and Wesley and Woody, Charlie and John are both like, they feel the attraction to her, and that's when it becomes like, who can get her, and because there's this bar that they commonly go once they finish work, just to go there, chill out, and they're both shooting their shot. Yeah, but it just feels like Charlie never really had a chance, but especially because of the way how he dealt with his finances, which was obvious, and it just showed that immediately Grace Santiago had an affection for John. That's his nice Torch. He keeps coming into that subway, and he attacked ladies who are pretty much in the ticket booth. Going in there, he's pulling oil and he's lighting them up. And one time he actually Jennifer Lopez is inside there. Chris Cooper actually knocks her out, and Wesley and Woody are both on the trail hunting him down, but he escapes. So not only that, the two leads have to worry about his death, really for like Charlie, because it's his fuck up, but it's this guy's crazy arsonist who's in the street, who's in this subway. At this time, Charlie is still on robbing the money train. He believes that they should do it on New Year's Eve, because at that time there will be more security and police on the streets of New York, because everyone goes for the celebration pretty much in Times Square to celebrate the countdown into the new year. So he's really pushing it to John, saying like, you know, we can rob this train, we're cops, no one's going to be able to catch us because no one's going to be able to see. John is just like, blah, be quiet and that. But around this time, John and Grace are really developing like this chemistry. You know, they've taken a liking to each other, but Woody doesn't know anything about it at this time. It's just really just played behind their back, you know, in these scenes like when they're boxing and then when they were dancing. It's like no one really wanted to admit it. So one time, Wesley and John, he actually gives the $15,000 that he was just saving for a rainy day. He gives it to Charlie to basically go to pay these monsters, but he was gonna actually tell like his brother that me and Grace are basically like an man. Just so happens that when Charlie's going to go pay the monsters money, that's when Grace actually comes to Wesley Snipes, John's apartment for round 2. Woody, just out of some craziness, he's on the subway, and I keep saying how dangerous he is riding the New York City subway. He goes there and he gets robbed. He stops like this altercation that's happening on the train, and this old lady like robs his money, and he loses the whole $15,000. He tries to go explain himself to the monsters. The monsters kick the bejesus out of him, and at the same time he comes in from getting like the shit kicked out of him from the monsters who were claiming the debt back. He comes back to the apartment where him and his brother were sharing as roommates, and he's sleeping with Grace. John's sleeping with Grace, and this scene, the girl that he liked now with his brother, his brother from another mother, his foster brother, really makes him like very like an emotional wreck, and losing the money just added to that as well. So after that, right now, like Grace and John, they're pretty much an item at this time, which is funny because no other scenes are shown. No other like affectionate scenes are shown, which is funny. They come into the next scene. It's like when they're in the subway again, and Woody actually comes in. Charlie actually comes in drunk, and Wesley was so. John was so pissed. Wesley was pissed because not so much like, I think he felt guilty for a bit because he was with Grace, he slept with Grace, but then the $15,000 for him to just lose it like that, it was like so reckless, like only an immature kid could do this. So he has enough of his shit. He comes in, Charlie comes in drunk, he's not really in the best sorts to be on duty, and just so happens that Chris Cooper comes in and he's ready to bring the house down. He's ready to torch. Grace is disguised as a ticket booth, the one who sells the tickets for the subway. He tries to torture her, but like Wesley and Charlie, they're on the chase. They're ready to chase, and really a nice action scene where they actually come out of the subway and they're running down the streets of New York City trying to catch Chris Cooper, the torch. And then and once they get back down, you have like this battle between Wesley and this battle between John and the torch, and John's able to use his smarts. He's able to like burn him after like smacking the ground of the oil, burn things, and that's pretty much the end of like at least the torch. He's gone. What happened was Patterson, Robert Blake, which Patterson, he fires both of them for really not listening to orders. Like it was their fault. Like even this torch guy came in, so he's just blaming them. So he fires them. He fires both of them for their position forensic cops, Charlie's fuck ups. So they have really this kind of real like mad falling out at this time. And the mobsters are still on the trail for Woody, because it doesn't matter if you got fired for the job, you still need to pay 15,000, my G. And they meet him one time in that bar that they regularly go to, and they say, yeah, you better get this 50,000 or we're not even gonna take you because you got nothing to lose. We're gonna take the ones you love, more like your brother. And he basically gets the basically your brother. And Wesley, he gets known the information. The one who was running the bar, she tells that Charlie is actually in trouble. At best scenes in Money Train, John goes all the way to the mobsters hideout, or the mobsters place where they're basically based, which is a strip kind of gentleman's club. Wesley goes in and he brings like all the blade in him, or let's say passenger 57. If you see how he uses John Cutter in this, he brings it into this. You see all the martial arts that Wesley Snipes is accustomed in this scene where he's taking out all these monsters, and he's the one who called Wesley Snipes Digger. He couldn't name where he does this like 360 spinning kick. So yeah, pretty much like now you're in the climax of the film. So the torch is gone. Wesley and Woody, Charlie and John, they've both been fired, and Charlie is dead set now on robbing this train. He feels like he's got nothing to lose. You know, he lost the woman, he pretty much lost his relationship with his foster brother, and he lost his job, and he still has the debt. So he pretty much is like, it's like all or nothing. So as he was showing John earlier, like how the method he's gonna do this, he just goes on it. As he said, he waits for New Year's Eve, and he goes to it. And originally, John wanted nothing to do with it. He didn't even want to like intervene to try and stop him, but it was Grace. They meet in the bar, which is wearing a sexy, red dress, and she says, no, he's your brother, man up, you gotta take care of him, make sure he doesn't do something stupid, that will always be on you. So he decides to leave Grace. He goes after Charlie, and you have the pretty much scene where Charlie and John arguing about like why they should take the money, they shouldn't take the money. John says, don't do this, don't fuck up anymore. And if they start fighting, and John actually nearly falls out of the train, but is saved from Charlie. Saves him, and they actually go say like, okay, because now the police is on them, because this money train that Charlie wanted to take the money from has now been off radar. But Patterson, he sees everything. He's got like a whole board in his office, detectives. So police and the authorities are now heading to see who are the culprits on the money train. So they steer it in the direction to get away from them, and it just so happens like a passenger train, which just so happens to star I forgot his name now, maybe Duke, but I'll probably put it here, but Radio Raheem, and also the one in New Jack City, the one who was with Adam Payne, he's actually the train driver in this movie. And what happens is they have to deviate to make sure that the passengers who are on that train don't lose, the train doesn't crash. So at the time when they're trying to get away from the cops, they're also trying to save this train for the passengers. So they're successful, the passengers are safe, they're able to get out of the train, and just so happens they bump into Patterson, he was the one who actually was like, fuck these passengers, I want my money train saved. Meets Charlie and John just before, when he's like, who the fuck me? And he meets them and he totally disrespects them. He doesn't know it was them who did it, but he just like spits on them. He says, you're a fuck up. And both John and Charlie, they do that classic line of, let me hit him. No, let me hit him. No, let's both hit him. Their brothers Grace actually arrested him because he endangered the passengers' lives, all for these money train, all for that. And going to the top of the subway, the streets of New York, is now New Year's Day, and just so happens that when John is actually touching Woody, when John is actually touching Charlie, John's like, what is that, Charlie? And Charlie's like, I'm pulling a bit of weight. He took a pretty heavy dose. He's gonna be eating good for the next year. Pretty much the similar scene in White Man Can't Jump of Wesley and Woody walking into the distance and the credits roll, and they're just arguing and bitching. And so yeah, soundtrack was done by Marcus Cena. It does have that New York vibe, especially for that 90s experience. Money Train really bombed when it came out in 1995, and yeah, it really was like for the studio. When they made this film, because I feel with Money Train capture the great chemistry and just that great commodity that Wesley Snipes and Woody had in White Man Can't Jump. But I think the difference is really we really love like how those scenes of Rosie Perez and Woody Harrelson in White Man Can't Jump off, like he's trying to change and he wants to change for her and it means something. In Money Train, it does feel like I do feel J-Lo does like a great job, but even when she actually does hook up with Wesley, you don't really see too much scenes with them. There's no really follow-up. There's no like over day, there's no like over scene of like they're gonna get married. It's nothing after that. It's just showing like really Woody trying to like get after this train and clear this day off the mobsters. So it just feels like in Why Man Can't Jump, both Woody and Wesley were equal, but in Money Train it feels like Wesley's just so much superior. Woody it was like a really missed opportunity with Chris Cooper's character. He could have been even developed more to the end. Like even when that I thought that was one of the best scenes when they were chasing him through New York. It was the suspense that this film needed. And when he was taken off midway, even when I watched this recently, I was like, why? He could have been like the final, at least if he's not the final villain, he could be near to it before, because when the torch came in, there was a lot of mystery to him. Like, why is this guy doing this? Why is he here? Where can he attack again? And I really loved those scenes when they were like on stakeout. They were in disguise, they were like watching for the next attack. But then after, when it just becomes their cops and they're just trying to rob the train, after a while it just felt like it just wasn't as invested. I could never really buy the chemistry from Grace and John, Wesley and J-Lo. I could not really see. I can't, but it just didn't. Even when Jennifer Lopez was trying to say like, oh, your feelings about you and me, I could never buy it. I could buy Rosie Perez and Woody Harrelson in White Man Can't Jump. Rosie Perez loves him, but she's not going to stick around if he keeps on acting immature. So I could really admire that. But in this one, I could never buy J-Lo Lopez. Was like, she had really affection for Wesley in this. I just didn't get it. This is like a 3 out of 5 film. The positives, of course, are the two leads, Wesley and Woody. Even like the story is really clunky and it's especially not interesting, especially in the third act. Wesley and Woody still, their scenes together is pretty cool. It's always cool just to see them. It did bring a lot of what we love from White Man Can't Jump in this movie, of them seeing just arguing, them trying to get with J-Lo when they get fired. The moms being that kind of thing. It's like they really are like brothers from another mother. There's a strong bond of friendship, and that's really the takeaway from this movie. I'll usually watch Money Train straight after White Man Can't Jump. It's just like kind of like how I always watch Batman and then Batman Returns. I will always watch that as like it is a sequel. It's like a spiritual sequel to White Man Can't Jump. But I do appreciate the imagery of just seeing them two back again, young Jennifer Lopez at this time and the New York setting. So that's definitely the impressive parts of this film. Let me know what you thought of Money Train, seeing Wesley Snipes and Woody in the lead roles again. Did you think it was as good as White Man Can't Jump, or it was a big step down? Would you have loved to see them two in another movies, after this? And what did you think of Jennifer Lopez, in the early performances? Put that down all in the comments below. And let me hit it. You know what? We'll both hit it. And I'm out.